The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us on a finally Friday. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
This morning, a new docuseries is out on Hulu that focuses on alleged cases of police corruption here in Bakersfield.
It's a tragedy that should have not happened.
I knew the homicide rate in Bakersfield was high.
He didn't know that he was going to die.
My son died in a shootout.
So I began to question it.
And told me they were going to kill him.
To get things done, get the case closed by any means possible.
This is one of the most powerful projects I've ever been involved with.
If anybody fights, they go to jail via the hospital.
The docuseries is called Killing County. One of the cases examined in the docuseries is that of Jorge Ramirez Jr., who was shot and killed by police in 2013 while working as an off-the-books informant. No officers were charged in connection to the shooting. However, it was revealed later that BPD detectives Damasio Diaz and Patrick Mara were allegedly involved in making Ramirez Jr. an informant, although Diaz denies those claims. Diaz is part of the docuseries, where he discusses being sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2016 for stealing drugs and putting them back on the streets. I spoke with Diaz for the first time since his release. The convicted felon says a lot of corruption in the Bakersfield Police Department was swept under the rug. Did you know that this was going to end in you being arrested, you serving time in prison?
No, I never thought that. At the time, I honestly believed that if the time ever came that someone would investigate us, it would be taken care of by those in power. I had seen it many times where bad conduct or bad decisions or wrong decisions were swept under the rug or covered up or taken care of. And so we were accomplishing the goal of our unit. We were seizing a lot of narcotics. We were putting people in prison who were dealing and selling drugs, and we were on top of our game. And I'm not saying that to boast, because it's a reality. We were seizing numbers that were unseen before. And so our bosses, I got dozens of positive evaluations from my superiors, all the way to the top. And so I believed at the time, I was led to believe that things would be taken care of if anyone ever looked into our unit.
You can watch more of my interview with Diaz on our website, kget.com.
Meantime, we reached out to the Bakersfield Police Department about the interview with Damasio Diaz. A department spokesperson released this statement saying the Federal Bureau of Investigation investigated the corruption of Mr. Diaz. Any and all additional claims made by Diaz at the time were also handled by the FBI. As a result of the FBI investigation, Mr. Diaz was sentenced to federal prison for betraying the trust of his community and co-workers. No other criminal acts were substantiated after thorough inquiry.
During our interview, Damasio Diaz denied knowing Jorge Ramirez Jr., whose killing devastated his family and rocked the community. 17's Michaela Armstrong spoke with the Ramirez family about their participation in the docuseries.
Nearly 10 years since the shooting of Jorge Ramirez Jr. in September of 2013 at the Four Point Sheraton Hotel, his family wonders why it was so hard to get answers.
Why did I have to dig? Why did I have to read? Why did I have to show up to people's houses to find out what happened? I shouldn't have. Why weren't they transparent from day one?
Ramirez was shot and killed by Bakersfield police while he was working as an off-the-books informant. However, since that night, there have been different accounts of what exactly transpired, leaving his family to spend years digging for answers themselves and clear his name.
Everything we needed was right here to prove that my brother wasn't a suspect. For me, clearing him as a suspect was so big.
The family insists BPD justified his death by covering up his cooperation, which is why they continue to fight for justice.
They blamed the victim for their deaths. They blame the families for doing what we're doing. They're upset because we uncovered the truth. But just be transparent for one time. Be transparent. They're not. They claim to be, but they're not.
Now they are turning to a new platform to hold BPD accountable with the docuseries Killing County, produced by NFL player turned activist Colin Kaepernick, who Ramirez says was the perfect fit.
Day one, when Colin kneeled on that field, it was like, yes, yes, like somebody is listening and willing to give up everything for this. And to me, that's somebody I wanted to work with.
Now they can look forward to everyone knowing Ramirez's story and closing a chapter so they can heal.
Now we could just let my brother rest in peace, and we can all heal permanently from this and just live our lives. And we're done. We did our job.
Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
Jorge Ramirez was not the only one killed that dark September night. So was Justin Harger. Harger was wanted by U.S. Marshals in connection to a shooting, and police had been searching for him for 3 weeks. Ramirez was an informant, leading officers to Harger. Both men were killed by police, with BPD claiming it was a shootout. However, since that night, there have been conflicting accounts of exactly what happened. Harger's mother says she has suffered in silence since the death of her son.
They could have shot him, I guess, if they had to, in a leg or anything, but 18 times. I don't get to have him for Christmas or Thanksgiving or any calls on New Year's anymore. But if maybe we could stop some of this, some other parents out there aren't going to feel what I feel.
Breaking news this morning as we learn more about a suspected Chinese spy balloon spotted over the western U.S. That's according to the Pentagon, which sent F-22 fighter jets to check it out when it was over Montana. Defense officials decided not to shoot it down because falling debris might hurt people on the ground. They say it's unclear what the Chinese government might be looking for, but Montana is home to an Air Force base that maintains and operates intercontinental ballistic missiles.
President Biden and Vice President Harris met with congressional Black Caucus members yesterday to discuss policing in America. The meeting comes in the wake of the killing of Tyre Nichols. 5 Memphis police officers face charges related to his death. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington this morning with more.
The death of Tyre Nichols at the hands of police officers is renewing calls for change.
My hope is this dark memory spurs some action that we've all been fighting for.
President Biden meeting with members of the Congressional Black Caucus to discuss getting federal legislation on policing through a divided Congress.
This is going to require all of us, including Republicans, to get across the finish line.
Democrats pushing to revive the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Senator Tim Scott, the lead Republican negotiator, referenced the bill in a tweet, calling it a non-starter.
We need more training on de-escalation. Yes, we need more resources.
Lawmakers say they're willing to work towards finding common ground.
I know that when a conservative Republican starts talking about policing in America, some people seem to just turn the channel. That's wrong.
Black Caucus leaders say after reaching an agreement with the administration Thursday, they are releasing a legislative package in the days ahead.
We're not drawing lines in the sand because we know that Tyre Nichols' life is worth fighting for, and so many others.
Advocates say Congress must act on police reform while urging President Biden to make that case during his State of the Union address Tuesday. And during previous police reform negotiations, lawmakers appeared close to a deal on some provisions, including limiting no-knock warrants, providing mental health resources for officers, and preserving records of misconduct. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
The Biden administration task force has reunited 400 migrant families who were separated under former President Trump. Most of the parents were deported while their children remained in the U.S., and now the parents can come live in the U.S. and work legally for 3 years. More than 5,000 families were separated under Trump's 2018 zero-tolerance policy. Lawyers for the families have advocated for legal permanent status on behalf of separated families. But so far, the Biden administration has not agreed to that provision. Prior to the task force, more than 2,000 families, either on their own or with the help of lawyers, were reunited. 148 children are in the process of being reunited with their families, and advocates estimate over 1,000 remain separated. Politics now. Bakersfield Congressman and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy held his weekly news conference yesterday, speaking about his meeting with President Biden. He also made a controversial assertion about the killings in Goshen last month. 17's Maddie Gannon reports.
Before he said he wouldn't negotiate, but yesterday was a very nice conversation for more than an hour.
Addressing reporters at the Capitol Thursday, Bakersfield Congressman Speaker Kevin McCarthy was optimistic he and President Joe Biden will reach an agreement to increase the nation's debt limit following the pair's much-anticipated meeting Wednesday.
Today I got to see him at the prayer breakfast. He sat next to me and he said, very good meeting. I thought his comments up at the prayer breakfast that we're going to treat people with respect, and he followed to me, and I have respect for the president.
The speaker saying Biden will call him to set up another meeting on the debt. But McCarthy on Thursday was explicit on his position. I'm very clear. We will not pass a clean debt ceiling here without some form of spending reform. It comes as House Republicans voted Thursday to remove Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, letting her keep other posts. McCarthy insisting the move is not the same as when the Democrat-controlled House voted to remove 2 Republicans from all their committees last Congress.
If it was tit for tat, we would have picked people, took them off all committees, and said nothing about it.
Hanford Congressman David Valadao, who originally told 17 News he was undecided on how he would vote, ultimately supported Omar's ousting. Meanwhile, when asked about the border, McCarthy commenting on the recent killings in the Central Valley town of Goshen that left 6 people dead.
Every community now is a border community. We're watching fentanyl. In my own community, a cartel came in and killed 6 people. A young baby shot in the head.
Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau originally said the attack was likely a cartel hit, but later clarified, saying his department has not ruled anything out, but investigators are also looking into gang violence. Maddie Gannon, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.